Yo, interwebbers, I hope you're all alright. 5B, chapter 5 we're on. So yeah, I'm just gonna crack on. Yeah, the terraced house in Armley, it was just like going like a downward spiral. I've come home from work one day, Will's normally hanging out at dormer window on top floor, pissed out of his face, throwing pot plants and shit out at window, and he wasn't there. He'd been taken to hospital that day. His liver had packed in, and he died 2 days later. So there were just me, Rob, another lad that was staying over for a bit, and this dodgy guy downstairs. You know what I mean? And we're like, still pinning speed, still doing E's, well into the drug scene now. You know what I mean? But you know it is. That lad, that grip, what I'm calling Gripper, we got to be like mates, and we'd go to this nightclub in Armley called Upstairs Downstairs, and he used to be a doorman there, and we used to go out there. He'd say, "Oh, are we going to UD tonight?" And we'd go. We wouldn't have to queue. We wouldn't none of this VIP shit. We just walked straight in, didn't have to pay. You know what I mean? He knew out doorman. But he was that feared. He was proper feared. He was a scary, naughty dude. And I've got to admit, right, I got a kick out of being with him. You know what I mean? It was like being one at Reservoir Dogs. I did. You were respected. Do you know what I mean? We'd have the digger speeding toilets and that. We'd have a right night. But what I started to do, you see, I fucked up. I made a mistake. See what my mistake was? With each different drug, you get like a different group of people who've got different values and opinions. Even like different fashion, how they dress, everything. It's like in a world in its entirety. Each drug, and I'd got that much off at psychedelics. I'd gleaned that much wisdom, knowledge, and I clued up that I thought I made a mistake of thinking that heroin would be the same. So, and I wanted to do it anyway. Like I said, I was going to go full on. I was going to try everything, but that was a mistake. That's where I fucked up. Because you know what it is, you get a lot of your psychedelics, right, clue you up, but all you get off heroin, right, is a 20-year fucking sentence of misery and heartache. It is, it's bad. Don't do it. But yeah. And actually what it was, I were really struggling with come down. I was doing that much whiz and pills and stuff. I was struggling, and I'd be fucking wired. My head would be fucking in bits. And it was like, doing heroin, especially digging it, it turned it off. It's like you'd buzz and whiz your tits off, right? And then when you got sick of it and you wanted to come down, you'd just have a dig of smack and that's it. You'd be down. You couldn't pick your chin off at the floor. And back in them days, it were 20 bags. You couldn't get 10 bags, and gear were a lot purer. Now you know what it is. I'm not going to go into alt rattle and all that lot. I mean, yeah, everyone knows that you withdraw when you don't have it. I mean, you get to a stage where you don't. The drug actually don't fuck you. You make you gouge. All it does is stop you from feeling poorly. So like I say, I'm not going to go into that now. That's for later. But yeah, I went down the wrong road. Here it is, work as well. I remember going to work one day, and all morning I was fidgeting about. I couldn't get settled. I was restless. I felt irritated. Couldn't concentrate on my work. And I thought, what's going on here? And then penny dropped. I thought, you, my son, I've got an habit on the gear. So I went out and scored that dinner time. And I remember coming back after I've had a dig. And I've been at my computer, yeah, and I'd start gouching, yeah, and my head would drop like this. And it'd get lower and lower till my chin was nearly touching the table. And then I'd go, I'd do a bit of work on computer, and then I'd start gouching again. And yeah, it'd go down like that. Down like that. Anyway, the cotton don did work. Do you know what I mean? They knew something were going on. You know what it is? It got to the stage where it were really affecting my work, and like it come on top, and they said to me, look, we know what's going on, right? If you don't resign, we're gonna sack you. So that's it. 6 years I'd been there, and I lost my job. Biggest mistake in my life. In back at house, we didn't have, a boiler had broke, and we didn't have any hot water. And I was paying for both mine and Rob's habit, because Rob got on it with me. It took about 2.5 weeks, and that's it. We were both hooked in the shit. And when I got sacked when I resigned from work, you know, money wasn't coming in, and I felt so guilty, because there'd be times when I'd come home from work and I could only sort myself out, and I knew Rob would be rattling upstairs in his room. I felt so guilty, do you know what I mean? And it were really bad. It was shit. Anyway, you know what it is? That dodgy bastard downstairs, right? It were easy to hide like a small handgun, you know what I mean? But it also got like a really high-powered air rifle. I mean, this thing had been jacked up by poundage, and it were illegal, you know what I mean? It were quite, you know, firing power. It were quite, you know, it would a good make a gun. Anyway, he's come to me and he said, look, he says, will you keep this in your room? Because if Busy's come to his basement flat, yeah, he was scared that he were going to lose it. So I said, yeah, you know what I mean, and I kept it in my room. But I remember I made a right mistake. One day, I remember I was withdrawing, I was feeling awful, and I shouldn't have done it. You know what it is? He had a pair of binoculars in his gun case, inside pocket, and I've only gone and fucking nicked them and fucking sold them, Anna, to get sorted out. You don't steal off someone like that, someone like who's as naughty as that. You know what I mean? That shows you how bad the withdrawal is. You know, if you're gonna go to that lengths of, you know, like that to get it. Anyway, it come on top, and I thought, things might get a bit dodgy here. Anyway, I've come back from shops one day, right? I've gone out in the morning, done a bit of shopping, and there's a ginnel what runs up the side of these terrace houses. Anyway, I've seen these two. I've looked to the left, and I've clocked these two blokes, proper dodgy looking bastards. They were about 300 metres away, looking up and down the street. The one, I thought they're looking for someone then, and I got a really like dodgy feeling. You know what I mean? It like my intuition, it was screaming. I thought, oh. They look dodgy, them two. I thought, Anyway, I've got to house, right? Anyway, I've come in, yeah. Rob's with someone, one of his mates, right? And they've come downstairs, right? Rob didn't even look at me. He couldn't even look me in the eye. There was no eye contact, right? And he come past me, right? And I just got a really weird feeling. Anyway, the laddie were with. They were in a van. And when they went outside and got in a van, it were weird. The two hit on. And you know what I thought? It were like a signal. It were like a signal. It were like, anyway, that were it. I thought, hey, I don't like this. I felt really dodgy. I thought, you know, I'm in danger here. And I thought, right. Anyway, so I've opened sash window, yeah. And luckily, living room window, it's a bay window. And I climbed onto the bay roof, yeah, and then dropped down. I'd only run 20 foot, right, and I heard the word, bastard! And they must have come upstairs to house, yeah, come in my room and seen me legging it down the road. I got away, but I tell you now, I would have had a right hiding. If I'd have stayed in that room, I'd have been beaten black and blue. So that was it. I chipped from Rob's, and you know what it is? I never went back. Never went back. So yeah, I was homeless. My first experience of being homeless. I remember the first night, and it was mad how it come to me. When I was 14, I used to have a job after school, stacking shelves in this Asian off licence. And I knew that this guy, he kept his van, transit van, back doors were open, so guy who delivered newspapers and magazines, you know, could put them, you know what I mean, when he delivered him in the morning, he'd just chuck them in back up van. Anyway, I thought about this. I thought, oh, maybe I could sleep there. Anyway, I've itched it. I've walked to Old Farley. Anyway, I've tried these doors in this tranny and they're open. I thought, buzzing. Anyway, there were like 3 boxes in back at van, and they were like cardboard that had been flattened, you know, and stacked up. Anyway, I made like a little bed out of cardboard, right? I had a dig, right, and fell asleep. Anyway, I put all cardboard on top of me to try and keep warm. Fucking hell. I woke up at about 4:30, right? I heard a car outside. Next minute, fucking doors have opened, and this guy's just stood there looking. And it must have been mad because it were all neat before, and you know, he's been delivering newspapers and magazines there for years. And I could almost read his mind. You know, he were looking at all cardboard and thinking, what's going on here? Anyway, next minute, he's throwing these bundles of newspapers in and magazines, and they're hitting me. I'm under all this cardboard, me, and I'm looking through this gap in cardboard, and I can see this chava, 7 bales of newspapers and stuff, and they were hitting me, and I were trying not to go, you know, and bring it off top. Anyway, fucking piled all this stuff on me, right, and shut doors, and that was my first night of homelessness. You see, my dad, right, what I'd done is my dad had started going out with a new bird, you know what I mean? He were dating again with my old man. A divorce had come through for my mum and dad, and like me and his girlfriend didn't get on. Do you know what I mean? I slept. I went to his house, right, and I asked if I could sleep, yeah, and he'd go. It only lasted 2 days. He'd go to work in the morning, right, and she'd fucking start vacuuming at 7:30 in the morning, and she'd be ramming vacuum cleaner into my bedroom door when I was asleep. You know what I mean? Fucking, I got her back though. She had a bottle of wine that she was going to take to a party. I've drunk it all and filled it up with fucking blackcurrant juice, and she took it to the party. Anyway, I couldn't stay there anymore, so and my mum wouldn't put me up. So yeah, on the streets, and it's not nice. You know what it is? Winter were approaching as well. It were getting colder, and I just didn't have anywhere to go. You know what I mean? I did a bit of sofa surfing, but it was shit. And I had an habit. Anyway, you know what it is? I remember a really cold day, and I've had a couple of quid in my pocket, and I've been that cold, right? I've got on a bus to keep warm. I've waited for a bus to come. I couldn't care what number it was. I just got on top deck. You know what I mean? I was absolutely freezing. Winter was coming. Anyway, I thought, well, what am I going to do? Anyway, I was that troubled with it. Anyway, I fell asleep on this bus. It was so warm and nice. Anyway, about 7 miles away, I woke up on the outskirts of Bradford. I thought, oh no, fallen asleep. I didn't know where I was. Oh, I thought, oh no. What am I going to do now? So anyway, I pushed bell and got off this bus. And I've got off bus, and there's this car parked up with engine running and no one in it. And straight away, right, quick as a flash, I thought, oh, it's got an heater. I can keep warm. I can live in it. So I've hopped in this car, right, and I've nished and I've took it. I can't tell you the number plate or all like that or what make it was, but yeah, I started living in this car. You know what it is? I found out I'd only had this car about 2 or 3 days, and I found out off a few people that I know that Rob had died. He'd OD'd on heroin, and but you know what it is? He wasn't an happy lad, right? And I know he didn't overdose. He were too wise. He were too wised up to do that. He knew how to do it too much. You know what it is? He killed himself. He'll have got his jigger. He'll have got his gyro. Yeah. He'll have waited. He'll have rattled all week. He'll have got his gyro. He'll have got loads of fucking bags of gear with it. Got a big syringe and just pumped it in, and that was it. Bye bye. You know what I mean? He wanted to be with his brother and his mum, and that was it. My mate were dead. and I were homeless living in a car. I mean, my life just spiralled out of control. You know what I'd do? I'd graft in this car, and I'd be up to all sorts, right? Naughty stuff, you know what I mean? Grafting. And I'd buy whiz and heroin, and I'd drive to North Yorkshire Moors, and I'd find a right secluded spot, you know what I mean? With little single track roads, you know what I mean? I pulled on a bit of like grass, and I'd have a digger speed, and I'd listen to tunes, you know, hooking dance music, you know, throughout night, listening to radio. And then at about 5, 6 in the morning, I'd have a digger brown, right? And then I'd do it all against, you know, grafting and that lot. And I did this for 3 weeks. I remember once on Mars, middle at night, right? And it were mad. It were really foggy. And fog were like, it were fucking mad. It looked really surreal. And I don't know why I did it, but I was flashing, I pulled flash, you know, for iron beam to come on. And it were making all these fucking mad patterns with this fog. And I was flashing it a few times. And this, what they call it, this farmer, there must have been a farmhouse a couple of miles away. And someone seen me flashing lights, and they thought it was a stranded motorist. Anyway, he must have fucking phoned busy. And this country bobby's come up, right? I've seen cop car pull up. I thought, I don't believe this. Anyway, this busy's come to the window, right, and I wound it down. He says, "You all right, mate?" He says, "Are you stuck?" I went, "No." He says, "We saw you, farmer saw you flashing your lights, and we thought it was a stranded motorist, so I've just come to see if you're all right." I says, "Oh, do you know what it is, mate?" I says, I've had a big argument with wife, and I've just come to clear my head for a bit." He went, "Oh, all right then." Anyway, he chipped. He was like, "Phew." You know what I mean? And got away with it. Anyway, I'd gone to see, next day after that, I'd gone to see my mum in this car. Big mistake. She was really worried about me. She's only got number plate at car, right, and she's phoned busies. Told busies about what I was doing, you know what I mean, living in this car. I couldn't believe it, the stuff I'd done in it. I said to my mum, I says, "You don't realise what you've done, do you?" She says, "What?" I says, "You've just got me about 7 years in prison. Thanks to that. Anyway, car were on top, so I thought, right, I can't stay in this anymore. I thought, what am I going to do? Anyway, I phoned a mate up and I said, "Do you know anybody who rings cars? I want to get shut of this car." He says, yeah. He says, "I know a few people." Anyway, he's given me a contact, right, and he's told me where this garage is in Putsey. Anyway, so gone in car, right, and I found this garage, and I've gone. It was like a driveway that goes to where shutters open, where cars go, where ramps are. And I've come down this driveway, right, and there's engines either side of me, you know, old engines and vehicle parts and exhausts, you know what I mean, either side. Anyway, I pulled in this like, I've come down this slope, stopped car anyway, this big fucking burly mechanics come toward me. Anyway, he looked at me, and looked at car, looked at me, and I thought, I don't like this. Anyway, he's come up to me, I went under down. I says, "Are you so-and-so?" He went, "Yeah." I says, "I'm mates with so-and-so. I just wondered if you want, like, this catering, you know, do you want it? Do you want to buy it off me?" He went, "Where did you get that car?" I says, "Why?" He says, "Because it's one of my customers' cars." I went, "What?" What had happened, I'd got off this bus, car were running outside, this mechanic had taken it to Putsey to get a part for the car, and he'd left it running outside shop, he'd gone in shop, I'd got off bus, fucking nicked it, lived in it for 3 weeks. He says it's one of my customers' cars. Anyway, he's literally dragged me bodily through the fucking window, and then next minute it was bop, beep, bop, 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 fucking black eye, bus lip, you know what I mean? So I got a bit of a thrashing. Anyway, he must have felt a bit sorry for me, this bloke, and he said to me, he says, I'm glad I've got this back. He says, it belongs to an Asian doctor. And he says, because mechanic left keys in it running outside shop, he says, we couldn't claim off insurance and we were going to have to give him $4,000. He says, I'm glad I've got it back. Anyway, like I said, he must have felt a bit sorry for this bloke, and he's given me a lift to Old Farnley, and he's given me a tenner as well. He gave me a fucking tenner. He must have felt sorry for me. But I were in a fucking mess. You know, it is, I were doing tablets as well. I were a fucking mess. I were on benzos, doing diazepam, nitrazepam. It was just mental. It were, you know what it is? I did, I were on the streets and sofa surfing and here, there and everywhere. And I managed to get an homeless hostel, a place in an hostel. And I was there for about 7 months. I'd put my name on council register, on housing register, when I was 19. And I've been on it for about, fucking hell, coming up to like 4 years. Anyway, they helped me get a flat, and I got a flat in O'Farley, on estate. Fucking buzzing I was. Anyway, things started to look up a bit. I started seeing a local lass. Yeah, beautiful she was. You know what I mean? And I sort of like started to get my head together a little bit, but you know, there'd be times when I'd just let loose. I mean, I'd do these tablets, right, and I'd get in some states. I mean, people would see me, yeah, and I'd be staggering about. I'd have like a shoe on one foot, a trainer on the other foot, this fucking shirt back to front, staggering and falling all over the place, slurring me words. I mean, these are like walking charge sheets. These you don't recall what you've done. You know what I mean? I've met countless people in prison that's committed stupid crimes on these tablets. Anyway, you know what it was? I was on these tablets. I'd done loads of diazes, and I were in bottom flat. It were a masonette 4 flats, and I'd got to know a lad above me, and I've gone round back where his door was. I knocked on his door. He's come down, and he smokes weed. This lad. So I'm trying. I've no weed, and I'm trying to get some weed. Or at least this is what I can recall. Anyway, we had a bit of an argument. There was a bit of a falling out, yeah. I mean, I was so fucked, you know. I'm not surprised. I were in a right state. I'd have told me to fuck off as well if I answered the door. But anyway, I thought, shut door. I've gone around fucking path towards my house. His brother's come down the steps, yeah. Next minute, he's banged me straight in the face, yeah. Boom! So I've gone to the floor, right. Anyway, I fucking come round, right, and he's fucked off. Oh, I was fucking raging. I were absolutely fuming angry. So anyway, I've staggered into my flat, right? Anyway, our lass is like, what you doing? I've got this table leg, right? You know, table leg, it were about 4 foot. It had a big square top, you know where Morty St. Tennant joint goes, yeah? I mean, you won't believe what I did. I've got a tea towel and I've torn a strip off it, right, and I've got a Stanley knife. I've opened blade and I've fucking tied a Stanley knife and an hypodermic syringe to end at fucking table leg. Tied it with tea towel, with fucking blade open. I didn't know what I was doing. You know what I mean? Alice is like, you're going to get put in prison, what are you doing? She's fucking going mental. Anyway, I've waited for fucking these 2 brothers to come out of the house, right? About half an hour later, they've come down path, right? So I've jumped out the door, right, and I've clocked them both round head with this thing I've made. Fucking hell, there were a bit of a scrapping shoot, yeah. You know what I mean? Oh, it was fucking mental. Anyway, I've come back in flat. Alice is fucking going garrety. Anyway, they must have phoned busies because about 20 minutes later, doors come straight through. Boom! Fucking riot police with fucking helmets, you know, with visors on it, shields, come busting into the flat, arrested me. Anyway, do you know what it is? I just remember working up in a police cell, Millgarth, and I was covered in blood. And I didn't know how I'd got there or what I'd done or what, right? And they've got these little intercoms in cells. Anyway, I pressed the intercom, right? Dee. Voices come over. Yeah, what do you want? I says, what am I here for? What have you arrested me for? I nearly had an heart attack. He says, you're being arrested for 2 Section 18s with intent to cause grievous bodily harm and possession of offensive weapon. I thought, oh my fucking God. I thought, I've done it now. I mean, you're talking 1 step down from attempted murder. Naughty charge. Section 18s with intent. I mean, fucking hell. I couldn't believe it. Anyway, you know what it is? I was gutted. They wouldn't give me bail back to my flat because he lived above me. So, I was lucky to get a bail hostel. So I lost my flat, right? I lost my bird, and I was living in a bail hostel. It was fucking, it was fucking bad. You know, it went to magistrates and it got sent straight to Crown. Yeah, it was far too serious for magistrates. So anyway, I've gone to court, yeah, and yeah, I mean, it's charged like that, or murder, or out like that, you're not guilty. Straight away, not guilty. Forget going guilty. You know, you might have a chance, and that were it. Put pleasing directions in, not guilty, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, next court hearing, right, barrister's come up to me, he says, do you realise how serious this is, what you've done? I said, sort of. He says, do you know, if you get found guilty, he says, do you know how long are you looking at? I went, no. He went, you're looking at double figures. He says, you're looking at 10 years. I went, you kidding? He went, no. He says, I was shown photographs, right, and they had scars down back at head where I'd clocked these two lads with this fucking thing I'd made, right, and Judge, he had this weapon I'd made. He had it in like a big box, and there were tie wraps holding it in that box, right. Oh, look, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't remember what I'd done. I just couldn't remember any of it. You know what I mean? I couldn't. Anyway, he says, yeah, it's really serious. So anyway, fucking hell. So like I say, I got bail in a bail hostel. Anyway, it was about 4 weeks later. I've been on top deck of a bus going to town, right, and I've seen these two chavas out at window, and back in the day, were windows that slide open. Now, I'm not going to tell you what I said, right, but let's just say, right, I got to the window and I fucking said something, you know what I mean? You can guess what I said. Now, I don't think they knew it were me. I don't think they could see me as we were going past them, but they heard me. Anyway, do you know what it is? It was lucky that, because I got to court for trial. You know what I mean? Jury and lot. I thought, fucking hell. Anyway, fucking barrister's come up to me. He says, I've got some good news and bad news for you. I says, right, what's good news? He says, good news is they haven't turned up to court. I went, oh, that's brilliant, is that? I says, what's bad news? He says, police have gone to the house to arrest them, to force them, to bring them to court. I says, oh, you're joking. He went, no. Anyway, you know what it is? Look as it. They'd gone out for the day, and rightly so, yeah. They had been warned, yeah, and the news score, so they'd pissed off out for the day. Anyway, do you know what it is? Prosecution's come up. Anyway, I've ended up doing a deal with prosecution. I went in there looking at double figures, 10 year, yeah. I fucking come out of that courtroom, right, with 180 hours community service and 2 years probation. I pleaded guilty to 2 Section 47s, which is a common assault, yeah. I went in there looking at double figures, and I walked out with 2 years probation and 180 hours community service. I was fucking buzzing. I couldn't believe it. But yeah. So anyway, yeah, bail hostel. And the saga continues. You know, again, I'm going to introduce someone to you now, right? I got friends with a lad. I'm just going to call him Andy. He was a really sound lad, you know what I mean? And we'd got grafting together and stuff like that, right? And, you know, we were like, got to be proper buds. I mean, his head, he's a poor cunt, right? His head was a bit mashed, right? He'd been sexually abused as a boy by a fucking ice cream man, of all people. And his head was fucked, you know what I mean? He told me, and it wasn't a nice story, but yeah, but we become pals, you know what I mean? And that's it. That's where chapter ends, and I'm gonna be doing 6B soon. The saga continues. So listen, you take care out there, all you want, yeah. Respect.